Yes,
Hello and welcome to the Amazing Spider-Man Podcast. We are not an Amazing Spider-Man Podcast. We are the Amazing Spider-Man Podcast. And I would just like to point out that I have an ear infection in my right ear, and I cannot completely hear everything, but I hope that everyone can hear me just fine.
What?
If I'm talking louder than I normally talk right now, that is the reason, because my hearing is impaired right now. But join me today for the panel, we have Mr. James Markin. How's it going, James?
Hey guys, what's up?
I hope James is healthy, unlike me, because that would not be
Yep.
good.
I'm pretty healthy, and I got some good news. I got my acceptance letter. I am in my culinary school, so yay me.
Awesome. Good job, James. And today, we also have a brand new panelist who is hoping to join us as a full-time member of the panel, provided he does not insult any racial groups today. Joining us today is Mr. Jan Allen.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm really excited to join this. I've been a fan of this podcast for pretty much since it started, and I'm a huge Spider-Man guy, so I'm really excited to hopefully be able to talk Spider-Man with some fellow geeks on a regular basis.
Yes, he says he's been a fan of this podcast since it started. I honestly can't believe anyone listened to that when it started.
I listened to it.
He also told me that I'm the greatest guy he ever heard on the podcast, which it just honors me because I know I'm just a great guy, and it's just so thank you.
Yeah, don't flatter yourself.
You're welcome, sir.
But as far as Jan goes, he is all things super on our forum, and with Thomas's exit last week, we basically had to go, okay, we need someone, and Jan offered his services, so I was like, yeah, you know what? Come on, we'll have you on, so...
I'm so excited. So how much did this gig pay?
I get paid about $20 an hour, but you guys don't get jack shit.
Oh.
Sorry, it's the self-pay thing. But damn, my right ear is like getting clogged up again.
Yeah, because of that,
That ear infection.
I got to use my money. Ooh, ice cream man.
Yeah, it's like I have an ear infection in my right ear, so wearing a headset and mic was probably not the best idea I've ever had. But see, I like to live life on the dangerous side, so #YOLO.
When I had an ear infection, my doctor told me to wear a headset, but then I couldn't really hear him, so he might not have told me that. And I don't know.
Okay. But yes, Jen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, since you plan on being here for a while, hopefully.
Well, I am pretty much the coolest guy you're ever going to meet. I'm just kidding.
He is 6'7". He told me this.
I am 6'7".
Yeah, I'm 6'4", so that's not a big deal.
I am 5'9". I hate you both.
It's okay. But, I don't know. That was weird. No, I'm not really that interesting. I go to high school. I've been a huge Spider-Man fan since I was a little kid. I've been reading a lot of essentials and stuff lately. And I don't know. That's really all I can think of.
All right. But I guess we can just dive right into the news topics because we got nothing else to talk about today. Damn, my ear hurts. I'm just going to be saying that throughout the whole show.
We know.
So if I start bitching or I scream out in pain, that's probably... That's why.
And then, oh my god!
And then in this issue of Amazing Spider-Man, and you son of a!
I have a story. One of my friends at where I go to school, I once said "son of a bitch" in front of her, and she was like, "Yep, that's my brother." And I was like, I didn't get it at first, and I was just like, oh, wait. Because I was just like, okay, that's not something most people say, but whatever. She was interesting. She was an interesting person.
Dude, my mom has a story about when
this was another episode of Jonathan's Soapbox.
My mom has this story about when she was in the 70s going to high school, and she was near her locker, and she said a curse word. She never told me what word she said, because I think it was when I was a kid when she told the story and stuff like that. But she said a bad word, and then the lady with the locker right next to her, wearing a cross and everything, turns to her and goes, "Every time you swear, you go farther and farther away from heaven." And my mom's like, "What?"
I'm not going to respond to that because I don't want to start a religious debate.
Hey, have fun.
I'm not going to. I'm just saying that my mom's not like, okay, I just said it because I like slammed my own thumb in my locker here.
Yes, okay. Andrew Garfield signed on for more Spider-Man films, ? Daily Star, a UK news outlet, is reporting that Andrew Garfield was recently offered a spot in more Spider-Man movies than just The Amazing Spider-Man 3. According to the article, Garfield was offered the role up until 2020 at the earliest, and this is due to the enormous success the franchise is enjoying. They also stated that, blah, blah, blah. I write the most boring news articles I've ever seen in my life. My gosh, I really need to hire someone to write these news articles for me because I make them so bland.
I'll write them for you, and I'll write them in the most awesome way ever. Bring up girls, explosions, and food.
Excuse me, is your name Michael Bay?
Yes, actually it is. Nice to meet you.
Transformers 4 is going to be an ugly mess. I'm sorry. Except for Nicola Peltz. Woo, hot damn.
So one of the Bayisms you liked.
Okay, I'm going to say this right now. I found Megan Fox attractive in the first movie. The second movie, much too orange for me. Like, what the hell was going on with her skin? Third movie, Victoria's Secret model, whose name I can never remember. She was fine, I guess. But Nicola Peltz in this fourth movie, hot damn. Did I mention she's 19? Hot damn.
You mentioned that.
Yes, I told you.
Jonathan, you got to calm down here. Okay?
Jonathan, calm down. It's okay.
Hot damn. Yes, Andrew Garfield signed on for more Spider-Man films. Apparently, ? Yes, this is not confirmed. This is a complete rumor. But this rumor kind of started because he bought a house. Apparently, I don't know.
He's a movie star.
House, therefore, he signed on for more Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, it's like, okay. Here's the thing: the guy buys a house with Emma Stone. Not that big of a deal. But now it's all of a sudden starting. Because Sony apparently came out and said, yeah, we really want him in the franchise until 2020. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll be okay with that, but I'm pretty sure he won't be. Because I'm pretty sure he said he's doing one more movie and then that'll be it.
That would suck, though. I mean, I really like him as Spider-Man. I think he's one of the best things about this new franchise. And, this is a franchise that has many perks for me, but I think he is among, one of the best things. And it would really be a shame if he left. I mean, look at Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He's been in like 7 movies. That's crazy. Like, I don't know. I hope Garfield has at least 2 more movies in him.
Well, doesn't Sam Jackson have like a 30 or 40 movie deal because of Marvel Studios
I think he has
or something?
a 9 movie deal, which sounds crazy at first, but then it's like they're probably already getting pretty close to exceeding that limit, right? So,
yeah, it's like how many? Yeah, how many movies has he been in? Like Iron Man 2. Was he in Thor?
Yeah, no. Yeah, he was at the very end of Thor. It's like in the after credit scene.
That counts. He was in Cap, Avengers, Cap 2. Was he in Thor 2? I didn't see that one.
No, he wasn't in Thor. He wasn't in either Thor 2 or Iron Man 3. So he's like, I think I have like
He wasn't in 4 also. That was all Carson.
No, he was at the very end in the after credit scene.
No, in the after credits scene, it's just Carson on the phone. He says, in Fury, we have something for you, but you don't see him. He just brings them up.
No,
that's Iron Man 2.
In Thor, he shows...
Oh, yeah, that's Iron Man 2, yeah.
Cosmic cube.
Yeah, he shows the cube, and then we see Loki...
in the mirror. Which, by the way, that plot thread never got followed up on.
Oh, yeah.
Really weird.
But Andrew Garfield in the role of Spider-Man until 2020... I would love this personally, but I don't see it happening. I'm sorry. It's just, Andrew Garfield has said many, many times that he doesn't want to be Spider-Man forever. He loves the role, he loves the character, but he doesn't want to see himself as the character for a long time. And so, I would be very, very surprised if this is true. I would be very, very surprised. Because, honestly... Garfield is not someone... I mean, Garfield's a good guy, and he's definitely a great Spider-Man, but he's not someone who would play the role for 10 years. So
yeah, probably not.
I highly, highly doubt that this is true. A lot of people are also getting on this article because they said that Andrew's next 2 Spider-Man films will be released in 2015 and 2016.
Yeah, Seven Webheads was talking about that. He's like thinking that there's something kind of fishy about that.
Yeah, because The Amazing Spider-Man 3 is not set to be released until 2016, so what is this movie that he's going to be in 2015? Is it going to be
Spider-Man 2?
Is it going to be Venom? Is it going to be the Sinister Six movie? Probably Venom.
Yeah.
But,
you can't do Venom without Spider-Man. Then now that I say that, you can't really do Sinister Six without Spider-Man either. So.
Wait, 2015, isn't that the year that No, I'm not going to start that rumor. I'm going to say that isn't that the year that Avengers came out?
What?
Oh, jeez. Please no. Don't start that. But yeah, what do I think he's going to be in 2015? I don't know. I'll be quite honest with you. I really don't know what he's going to be in 2015. And granted, I don't really care because that's a year away. It's like, when it gets to like the final few months before that movie, I'll get excited for it. But it's a year away, so I don't really care right now. I'm sorry. I'm more focused on, the present. Things that are important in life, like food and water and
girlfriend problems.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, how does your girlfriend feel about you keep on bringing up that one chick being 19?
Hey, I don't care. She does not care. I'll be quite honest with you.
He just punched you across the internet, son.
Yeah.
I do that a lot on here.
Yeah, he does. I almost called you she. Okay. But any thoughts on Andrew Garfield possibly being on for more Spider-Man films?
It'd be great if it's true, but I don't think it is. I mean, I really would like it to be true, but I doubt it is. So.
All right, James, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think this news story is just jumping the gun maybe a little bit too much. That they heard the whole, we want to sign him onto a big contract. They see him buying a house, and they immediately mean, oh my god, that means he signed, when it probably just means that he bought a house.
That's the most random thing ever, though. Like, oh man, he's eating a sandwich, therefore he will be in Spider-Man 4.
Did anyone else hear the rumor about how Mark Webb apparently chose him because of the way he ate a cheeseburger?
No. Is that...
I am not kidding.
That is the coolest thing ever.
I am not kidding. I actually read that somewhere, and that is awesome.
I hope he's... I don't want to sound bad, but I hope he's joking.
He hold the sandwich with his middle finger and whatever the finger after the middle finger is,
the ring finger.
Moron.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome if Andrew just comes out and says, "Yeah, I was chosen because of the way I ate a cheeseburger. It was actually kind of cool." Okay. But as we move off of that news topic, we have August 2014 Spider-Man solicitations. We got those this week, courtesy of Marvel, CBR, wherever you get your solicitations from. Basic solicitations for this month, we got Amazing Spider-Man 1.4, Amazing Spider-Man number 5, Spider-Man 2099 number 2, Superior Spider-Man number 32, Superior Foes number 14, and Miles Morales number 4. So those are the main Spider books that are coming out this month. I'm not sure if there are any trade paperbacks coming out this month. I didn't look far in the solicitations. I didn't look far enough to find those. Ow. Damn ear. But as we see here, we got some solicitations. Anybody have any thoughts on these solicitations?
Yeah. I will. I talk a lot, so I might as well. I haven't read any of the learning to crawl thing. My only fear is that it's going to ignore the Amazing Fantasy number 16 through 18 that Kurt Busiek did back in the 90s, because it sounds like
those are already being ignored.
They are.
Yeah, they were being ignored going all the way back to 1999 with Chapter 1 when John Burns said, "Well, yeah," but he said in an interview once, I heard somebody bring this up, how somebody said, "Is Amazing Fantasy 16 for 18 in continuity?" And he goes, "No, Marvel just pretends like those never happen."
Dang it, because I like those. Those are really good issues. But that sucks. But I don't know. You guys liked the first one, and it sounds cool. I think the idea of a new villain in Clash, that's a really fun idea. So I'll probably pick those up and trade. Or I don't know how. I want to read those eventually. It's kind of low on cash right now. Number 5, the idea of all the it looks like from the cover, it looks like Silk, Black Cat, and Electro are all teaming up on Spider-Man. That's kind of cool. No real thoughts beyond that. I have no stake in 2099 whatsoever. Superior 32, don't care. Superior Foes, don't care. And Miles Morales, It's just Peter Parker fighting Miles Morales. So I don't know. I guess it's kind of cool. But.
I'll be quite honest with you. I mean, I'm picking up 2099 because it's written by Peter David. That's all I need.
Writer, but yeah.
But like I said last week, 32 of Superior Spider-Man. Yeah, don't pick that up. It doesn't need to exist.
Speaking of Peter David, have you read I'm going to sound like a nerd here. Have you read the novelizations of the movies that he wrote?
No, I did not.
I read the first one.
They're great. They're pretty cheap on Amazon, and I found them all at my local comic book store. He actually makes Spider-Man 3 better by just getting into the characters' heads and stuff. Like, he's a brilliant writer. So
I love Peter David. I love his work.
There's a lot of stuff that he either changed or added a different version of a scene in there.
Yeah.
That in a lot of not just Spider-Man 3, but in like 2 and 1, where he added stuff that I said, I wish I would actually saw that in the movie.
Yeah. He's a great writer.
I'd say Amazing Spider-Man number 5 is, easily going to be the book that I'm most interested in. But,
yeah, me too, probably.
But, it's obviously, these first 5 issues are obviously a big arc. Who is this mysterious woman and what does she have to do with Black Cat and Electro? It's obviously one big arc because we get Electro, Black Cat, and Silk teaming up. They're going to be basically the antagonists of the first 5 issues, and now they're all teaming up in the 5th issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fairly decent. Ramos's cover for this doesn't look too bad. It actually looks fairly decent. And yes, I forgot to introduce Jan as the guy who actually likes Ramos. So
yeah, I know I'm like the only person, but I don't know. It's like it's a taste thing, I think. But I've always thought his artwork was pretty cool. So
I like to bring up a few things about this cover. First, I kind of like it. It looks really nice, especially the Electro part where he just looks like, I don't really give a crap. I'm just going to electrocute him. I think this is the first reveal of what Silk actually looks like after they all made her be like a mystery woman on the 4 cover, but classified and everything. Here they just reveal it.
With her, because I had some interesting thoughts.
And my final things, and I know I don't like Ramos' art, but if you look at the spider, those spider legs are really weirdly shaped. Like look at them. Like some of them are short on one side where they're longer on the other.
It's not a big detail that I'm...
I know it's a nitpick, but it's the first thing I noticed.
But in terms of the Superior Foes solicitation, I don't really care about Superior Foes anymore. I'm sorry, I've just completely lost interest. With all these fill-in issues and all this weird solicitation stuff, it's completely lost my interest. Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man, number 4... I'll be quite honest with you, I'm intrigued with where Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man is going, but the first issue didn't do much to enthuse me about the series, so, you know what, I'll pick it, I'm going to pick it up at least through issue 5, through this revival storyline, but, I'm really hoping it can impress me with these next 4 issues. And Amazing Spider-Man 1.4, you know what, I actually really like the first issue of Learning to Crawl, so I'm actually kind of down for that. But, James, do you have any thoughts on these solicitations, like, overall?
I'll go one by one. I like the cover of Learning to Crawl number 4. That looks like classic Aunt May kind of Spider-Man-ish.
Yeah, it does.
Which I like. And it seems like it could be a very well-done issue. I like it. I obviously, with Silk being a new villain, I'm going to actually need to read the issue before I can judge her. And, Electro and Black Cat. Now, Electro, I can see wanting to get Spider-Man because he's Electro. Black Cat, I'm really interested about what they're going to do here because you think that what her history with Peter, him explaining Mind Wipe with Doc Ock and her own history with Doc Ock, you think she might take his word for it if it's all because, well, he punched me.
Well, maybe this is an unrelated point, but she's basically sucked her way out of going to jail before. So, really, he should be able to lick his way out of getting away from her. I'm
not even going to touch that.
That's an interesting choice of words, Jonathan. I have a question. I haven't gotten up to the point where she was introduced, Black Cat. And this might be more of a point for Amazing number 2, but is this out of character? Because I don't think I know her character well enough to say whether or not it's in character.
There's been that argument made up. I've seen it on CBR and stuff. I'm really not taking sides on it. I'm
Seeing where it goes.
I'm seeing where it goes. Yeah.
Me too.
Pretty much her character has been interpreted many different ways between many different artists and writers and editors that you can't really say that something's out of character for her, because every time she is used by somebody, they see her as either the sexy Marvel equivalent of Catwoman, or she's the villain, or she's a good girl, or she's an anti-hero. It depends on whoever is using the character, how they see her.
Black Cat I like most is the one from the Spider-Man 2 game. I thought that was a cool use of her.
All right, but any other thoughts on the solicitations, James?
2099 sounds interesting. I didn't really want to pick up Superior, not even drop the title when it first came out. I don't know why anybody would wonder if I'm going to buy this one when I don't have to. Since the only reason why I re-picked up the title was because of this podcast. And Superior Foes looks kind of interesting, but the Miles Morales one, I know you can't really judge a comic book by its cover, but if Peter's actually going to attack Miles and say, "Give me your shirt," I think it's pretty obvious that then it is a clone and it's not the real Peter Parker.
Yeah, give me your shirt. That sounds
That's
weird.
what it looks like. It looks like when you see, like a cat fight in some movie, and the girl's like, "No, you can't wear that shirt."
Give me your shirt.
That's what it looks like. Well, I'm sorry. It looks like Peter Parker is ripping off his shirt.
Oh gosh,
it is really nasty if you look at it. It's like Stranger Danger for Miles Morales. I'm sorry.
Stranger Danger.
Okay, that's interesting. We got Ultimate Peter Parker is now apparently a rapist. Good for that.
Well, I'm not saying rapist. I just mean it's like Macy's after Thanksgiving sale. It's Macy's after Thanksgiving sale, and there's only one piece of that shirt left, and Peter wants it.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it where it doesn't sound dirty.
There's no way to not make that sound dirty.
No, there's not.
But any final thoughts on these solicitations before we tackle reviews?
Well,
I'm done.
The art for the cover, like I saw another one where Miles is facing off against Norman Osborn, and so the art looks cool. I mean, I'm not really going to buy it, but the art looks good. So I'm just glad Peter's back. Honestly, I'll take anything if Peter's alive.
All right. So with that pretty much ends the news topics for this week. Yeah, we're in a post-movie news drought right now, as I like to call it, because there's really nothing to talk about right now.
We can talk moving more.
Well, then here's where I bring up the JJJ podcast, and we make up our own fake news involving Spider-Man.
Yes, if anyone hasn't noticed this, we are actually the JJJ podcast because each one of our names starts with J. We realized this before we started recording, and we were just like, oh yeah, should we introduce ourselves as that? But then we realized, nah, that'd be stupid.
Thanks for the good news.
Jonathan, I got some news to tell you. My name's not really James.
What?
My real name is Ben. What? I've been traveling the world ever since I've been cloned. I don't know if I'm the original.
All right, Tom DeFalco.
You should just quote a whole bunch of random J.K. Simmons lines.
Miss Brandt, that's not the position I hired you for. Best line in Spider-Man 3.
That is the worst idea you've ever had, and you've had some doozies.
All right,
Mr. Jameson, can I have a raise? Wait, you serious? Pay for what? Get out of here!
You're fired. Oh wait, you're unfired. I need you. Come here.
You're on box of meat. I'll send you a box of Christmas meat.
The best lines from him come from the first movie. I'm just gonna say them real quickly. Crap, mega crap. Okay, I'll give you 300 for him. And then the best
is so good.
And then the best one where he goes, is when he's saying about how we need a photographer to find Spider-Man, and he's like, if we can find a picture of Julia Roberts in a thong, we can surely find one of this weirdo.
There's lots of great lines from J.K. Simmons. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
He's the best thing about those movies.
Spider-Man was a hero. I was just too blind to see it. He was a thief! He stole my costume!
That was a classic Stan Lee moment.
Have you guys seen the deleted scene from that one where he dresses up in the Spider-Man?
Yeah.
That is classic.
I got the director's cut.
Why'd they cut that out?
There. It's in the director's cut, the 2.1.
Yeah, I have the Blu-ray and it has both cuts, and I'm like, I saw that for the first time like a few months ago, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I love that. That's absolutely fantastic.
They cut that out. That's the question.
So
Dude,
tackle.
I think it sucks so bad that Spider-Man 3 didn't get one of those. Because
Yeah.
all those latest things that are in 3 that I heard about that were filmed and not in the
Petition for it
movie,
now.
I would want to see.
There's a petition for
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3 director's cut.
All those deleted scenes are in the novel that Peter David wrote, though. There's like an alternate version of the Sandman Venom team up that actually kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, like him how he's stalking Gwen and he's like, perverted, like smelling her clothes, and then he finds a file in her drawer of because her dad's doing the whole Sandman case about Uncle Ben's killing, and that's how he finds out about the Sandman. So it's
Eddie
not
Brock?
just so it wasn't like Eddie Brock, and so that's why he's not just web swinging randomly for the city and he just happens to bump into the Sandman.
And there's also a version where in the original ending, Eddie Brock kidnapped Gwen instead of Mary Jane because she had betrayed him, too. So he was going to kill both her and Peter at the same time because they both betrayed him. But then,
Bryce Dallas Howard, who played Gwen, said that it was supposed to be filmed that way, but she found out she was pregnant.
yeah,
So they didn't want to risk the baby, so they said, "Okay, Mary Jane's going to be the damsel again."
which sucks because I'm tired of Mary Jane getting kidnapped in a Spider-Man movie. If she gets kidnapped when they introduce her in the new series, I'll be so mad.
Kirsten Dunst said the same thing in the audio commentary for 3. She's like, "I was finally supposed to get out of here in this movie and survive and not have to worry about screaming for Spider-Man."
That whole commentary.
All right, tackling reviews now. We got Amazing Spider-Man number 2 this week, written by Dan Slott, art by Humberto Ramos. And basically, this is just a continuation of the main story of Amazing Spider-Man number 1 with a few new plot threads introduced and a lot more shit happens than it did in the first issue. I have to say, right off the bat, I was more pleased with this issue than I was with number 1 because shit actually happened in this issue. I was actually quite surprised and quite pleased about what I got with this issue. But I guess we'll just go around basic breakdowns and grades of this issue, and then we'll tackle talking points. Jan, since you are the new blood of the podcast, we'll start with you. Basic thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man, what is this, issue number 2?
Well, I have not read any of the Superior. I haven't read anything past Spider Island. That's the most recent thing that I've read. So I'm kind of going in this with a fresh pair of eyes, I guess. I didn't even read the first issue because I didn't feel like paying $4 for it. Or actually it was like $6. But I actually really enjoyed this on the whole. I think I have my notes here. There's too many to go into. But I think the whole Silk story is really cool. I don't know if you guys have read the Spider-Man's Tangled Web story thing with the 1,000. Have you guys read that?
The name sounds familiar, but I've never read it.
It's a terrible story. It's kind of similar to this, where there's this kid who bullied Peter Parker that sees him get bit by the spider and then eats
don't tell. Oh God, it's not. Is that the one where he eats the spider?
Yeah, that was a horrible, horrible story.
I don't want to remember it. Thank you for reminding me.
I'm sorry. I got that trade, and I was like, this is awful. This is one of the worst Spider-Man stories I've ever read. But it's like. Jonathan, you haven't read it. The guy turns into a whole bunch of living spiders, and he eats people alive, and then takes their skin, and it's really stupid. But
I really wish I could get a what do you call it? Men in Black. How they got the pen thing.
The neuralizer.
I wish Men in Black could walk into my room right now, put that thing to my face, and go, and then I would forget all about that comic. It was so bad.
Yeah, that was a horrible story. But so this is kind of like that, but doing it well. I think this whole Silk thing is just really cool. The moment I read that, I read the page where they showed the flashback of her getting bitten. And I was like, wow, that's a really cool new direction. So I think that's a really fun little story arc. And I think I wrote a note that says it's really convenient that she's watching a tape of Spider-Man fight Electro just as Spider-Man is about to fight Electro again. So
it's comics.
Yeah,
she's watching Spider-Man 2. She bootlegged
she's watching Spider-Man 2.
She bootlegged it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's my birthday. Now it's time for me to light my candles.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, this is a really good movie. I don't know what people are complaining about.
Yeah, but I really like Electro's new design. It's not really a new design, but I like how the lightning bolt scars actually glow. That's kind of a cool idea. Even though I think him wearing the hoodie was going a little like it was too much of a nod to the movie that it was kind of like, okay, that's I don't know, I didn't like that, but I like the scar glowing. That's I thought the Avengers thing was horrible. That was easily the worst part of the issue for me. Like it was just weird. Like for some reason, Spider-Man punches Captain America out of nowhere, and then like the next page they're getting along again. That was just weird. But I've heard that the Avengers was the worst part of Superior, or at least one of the worst parts of Superior. So
I'll bring it up when I go into my review because the compare and contrast between how the Avengers handled Spock and Peter, it's like you wouldn't even know these are the same guy writing them. I
mean, that's funny. But I thought Iron Man mentioning the Mind Worm was a funny like reference because I've just I read the first Mind Worm story not too long ago. The Electro fight at the end was really rushed, but at the same time I absolutely love how they're handling Electro. I think this whole idea of him being really mad at Peter, or not Peter, he's mad at Spider-Man because he thinks because Dr. Octopus experimented on him. That's a really cool idea. And I think that really makes their like rivalry a lot more personal and a lot more interesting than it ever has been. And I also think it's really cool how Peter is finally acting like an adult, and it's like, okay, even though he's like taking responsibility for that, even though he's not responsible. That felt very in character and very classic Peter Parker to me. At the end, when he's like, okay, we're going to cure, I'm going to undo all the bad that Dr. Octopus did. I'm going to cure Electro and save him, from this horrible thing that Doc Ock did to him. So that was really cool. Anna Maria, she's kind of she's a cool character, actually. I haven't read Superior, so I wasn't really familiar with that character, but I'm liking her. I think she's a cool character, and I think her and Peter's dynamic is really interesting, especially now that she knows that, oh my God, about the mind swap. So that was really cool, and I like that they immediately just got to the point and had Peter tell her instead of doing like the Smallville thing. I don't know if you guys have seen Smallville. Or
I love that show.
You love that show?
Season of DVD.
Yeah, I love that show too. But in Smallville, whenever they like drag out all this crap for like a whole season and it's just annoying. Like here, it was like, nope, write it immediately. They get it over with, and they like address the elephant in the room, and I thought that was really cool. Even though the implications of Spock with her is just creepy for reasons I'm not going to go into. So overall, that was really long rambling. I'm sorry, but overall, I would give this a B. I think it's a huge step in the right direction, and I'm really digging a lot of it. I liked a lot more than I didn't like. I'll put it that way. So I give it a solid B out of me.
All right, James, thoughts and grade?
For the most part, this is a good issue. Like, look, if I had a pros and cons kind of thing, they're like even. But so it's an okay issue. I love the Anna Maria moment where her and Peter have the talk about, what happened in Superior and with Otto. And in a lot of ways, I like Anna Maria, and I like her a lot more than I even like Carly Cooper, because as anybody watches this, I don't like Carly. Carly, when she found out that Peter was...
What?
Yeah. And then when Carly found out the truth that Spider-Man's Peter Parker, she flipped and she pretty much gave him hell for being Spider-Man. Like, how dare you not tell me this? Anna Maria here not only finds out that he's Spider-Man, but he's not even the man that she was in love with. That was Doc Ock the whole time. And she took it in a mature way, and they talked about it.
That was very good. I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's a very good... I mean, it made me really appreciate the Anna Maria character a lot more, where earlier she was just Doc Ock's girlfriend, who I thought was going to be killed off at the end of Superior or the beginning of Amazing. And here it's like, I can actually, not maybe as a love interest for Peter, because we all know he's going to end up with like Mary Jane or somebody by the end of Slot's run or whatever. But as like a friend and a confidant, I can really see her working out in the supporting cast.
All right, other thoughts?
Now about, I like the Electro. I do agree that the hoodie thing was obvious movie reference, but Marvel and DC are always like that when the movie's coming out. They have to put references to the movies. I mean, they did that every goddamn time, like the Tobey Maguire and a cameo in the one Doc Ock storyline during Spider-Man 2 and Back in Black. They always do this, so it's no surprise there. Now to get to the part that I know a lot of people know I was probably going to complain about, the Avengers moment. Captain America and all of them just go along through all 31 issues of Superior, with whatever Spock told him. Peter Parker comes in the classic suit. He hasn't killed anybody. He acts like the classic Spider-Man. Yeah, that's the big one. He hasn't killed nobody. He's acting like Peter Parker. He's apologizing. He's taking blame for everything. It's all my fault that Aqua's in my body. He's doing all this stuff. He baked them cookies. He showed up with no pants on. And everything points to this being classic Peter Parker, and Cap's still like, I don't trust you.
He's acting in character. Most wrong. Hey, James, have you heard the Crawl Space podcast where like they're talking about that like in the issue 8 of Superior, I guess, when Ock gave that little girl like the Spider-Man doll, and they're like they're still making dolls of a man who shot somebody in the face on live television.
Yeah, I've seen that episode.
That's hilarious.
Because this is like, it's like they're the Avengers, and I heard somebody say this on like a Twitter, feed after this issue came out. I followed. It's almost like Slot's mad that that Spider-Man's not a part of the Avenger movies, so he's making sure that every chance he gets, he makes them unlikable. Like that's what the person felt like, and I can kind of see it.
Well, I'm just sick of the Avengers being in Spider-Man. Honestly, I've always thought that Spider-Man I don't think he works with the Avengers, in my opinion. Even though I know, if you hate me saying that, then bring your pitchforks. But I just don't think he really fits in with them.
I think he could work. When Bendis wrote the Avengers, he definitely.
I haven't read any Bendis Avengers, but
Bendis pretty much just wanted his Ultimate Spider-Man, and he wrote 616 as it.
Spider-Man.
Like God, and all those like Dark Reign tie-ins. This is the guy who has the most history with the Green Goblin, and he was just quipping, making jokes about Norman's ugly. No, Peter would not handle that situation that way with Norman Osborn running the country. He wouldn't just make a quip about how ugly Norman's hair is.
To be fair, though, Ultimate, I mean, I haven't read any of that, so I'm not like necessarily saying you're wrong, but I think him being written like Ultimate Peter Parker is acceptable because, in my opinion, they're basically the exact same character, except Ultimate is just a little younger.
Yeah, but I see that, but like Peter was mostly just there to be, he makes jokes and the other Avengers get annoyed by him. It's like there was no substance to him in the Avengers.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't read it, so you're probably right.
Like most of the really good Peter Avenger storylines happen in Amazing, where they were guest starring with him.
Until after one more day.
Until Superior started. Because this completely ruined some of the members of the Avengers for me. And this is continuing going on. Even Spider-Woman's like, all this crap that happened in the first 2 issues could only happen to Peter Parker. He is acting 100% now like Peter Parker. We live in a world where Peter Parker has been cloned, where we have been Skrulls, where we've been mind-controlled, mind-swapped, mind-erased, reality-altering, different dimensions, different timelines. Why don't you just take his word for it? No, we need more proof because I fell for it during Superior. Then that's your own goddamn fault. Don't blame Spider-Man for it.
All right.
Sorry, this really pissed me off. I'm like, finally, maybe we'll get back to maybe he's not on the team, but he at least gets along with them. And then it's like, nope. He's punching them now.
Yeah, that was weird, though. He just, like, punched him, and then, like, the next page, it's, like, the Spider-Man, like, I don't know. It was weird. It was just, like, so random. I was like, what? When I was reading the thing.
All right, what's your grade, James?
A C.
All right. My breakdown and grade of this issue is that, you know what? I felt this was a good issue. It improved a lot over the first issue because, as most of you know, the first issue for me was a big, big letdown. Ramos' art, we haven't really talked about this. Ramos' art in this issue is fairly solid, I find. I find that his proportions are getting better. And
they are. It's really... I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
But I do think that Ramos' art is getting steadily better, which is a good thing. Particularly his drawing of Spider-Man is getting better. I mean, I'm really, really liking that. The whole shtick of Peter Parker having pants stuck to his ass because the webbing wouldn't dissolve, I found that to be quite funny. I don't know why I just did.
I laughed when the Ock changed his ringtone. That was pretty funny.
That's typical Parker luck.
Yes, I did like that. But the Anna Maria scenes were really what made this issue for me. The way she and Peter interacted was absolutely fantastic. I haven't been the biggest Anna Maria supporter. I haven't disliked her or anything. I've just always been like, she's an alright character. She's a good girlfriend, she's a fine character. But this issue really made me like her a lot. I really like Anna Maria after this issue. She's so good, and it's so fantastic. And damn it, my ear hurts, but I'm going to keep talking.
It's like what I brought up, like people who are Carly fans and how they're immediately defenses. Well, people are going to hate them if they're not Mary Jane and Gwen. I have seen people react to Anna Maria favorably. So that excuse, I think, goes right out the window once you see how the people are favoring Anna Maria than they did Carly.
Yes, and then other pros that we have, basically the lead up to the Electro fight I felt was very good. Electro's anger throughout the story for me was actually fairly well done.
He was justified, I think.
He wanted to light his candles.
I will be like a god to them.
A god named Sparkles?
Yes.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the panel when he brings up, it's your fault with your experiments, in that panel, the close-up where he's all glowing blue, and the Ramos art, if you didn't notice the starfish design going on with his face, you would almost think that that's obviously they're trying to make him look like Jamie Foxx from the movie.
Well, on Ramos's art, really quickly, I was reading the Paul Jenkins spectacular issues that Ramos drew, and it's amazing how much more solidified, I guess, his art looks now. It looks so cartoony back then, where now I think he's really getting a lot better.
I have not read Paul Jenkins'
spec run. Put it on your list of must-read Spider-Man stuff. It's awesome.
All right. In terms of cons for this issue, the Electro fight, like someone said, I don't remember who it was, the Electro fight was a big disappointment.
Yeah, it was.
4 pages, really?
He runs away after he gets hit by a little bit of water. That was really lame. He's like, oh, yeah, we'll fight again. And he's like, I'm going to run away now. It was really lame.
Yeah,
so it's like the movie Electro.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's like, of all the things to reference from the movie, wow. I was just really
See, in the movie, that was really funny. That was really funny moment, where there it was just kind of just felt disappointing.
Oh, gotta throw that in there.
Yeah.
Oh, wouldn't it be really weird if issue 3 or 4 when he appears again, he goes, Spider-Man ruined my birthday. Slots is throwing all these movie references.
Be the funniest thing ever.
He tells Silk, soon we're going to be in a world without power, a world without Spider-Man.
And Silk's like, why quoting that movie I liked?
And then Dylan's just complaining to Silk and Black Cat. He's hitting on him. So we're going to have a birthday party at a club. A lot of celebrities are going to be there.
If they do that, I will literally throw the comic against the wall.
If they did, I would go, and I would go and give Dan Slott a high five.
He walks into a church. Your God is not your God no more. I'm your God. And then the priest goes, a God named Sparkles.
Oh gosh! And we even got we didn't get Sparkles in this issue, but we got Sparky. Close enough.
That was weird.
I'm pretty sure that they were legitimately trying to be different, but I was just like, really? Sparky?
I think Sparkles is funnier.
It's if you were it's that's still close enough to Sparkles. So
I think one of Dan Slott's biggest pros of what little I've read of his run is I think, unlike some other writers, I think he really gets the Spider-Man humor. I think sometimes it's overdone, but I think he knows how to make Spider-Man's jokes funny.
And then as James talked about the Avengers scene, if I had a whatever type of gun people use to kill people, I would take it into Avengers Tower and shoot all of them because wow.
Jeez.
I did not like the Avengers in this book. I did not like it. I was just
Dan Slott written Spider-Man comic? What?
I swear to you, Dan Slott, just stop. Just stop. Please. Stop writing the Avengers. Please. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of how you write them. I'm sick of hating them. I'm sick of it all. Just stop, please. Why did Spider-Man punch him in the face? That was so freaking stupid.
Because reasons.
Because comics.
Yeah, because he needs reasons to hate him now because Peter's making too much sense. So punch Captain America, so that way we have more reason to have the Avengers to hate him.
Though I think that the Mind Worm reference was good, though. I like that. That's the only good part about that whole scene.
The only Avenger I actually like right now is Spider-Woman.
Yeah, she's fun. She's like just like in the background during the whole issue. These cookies are so good.
It wasn't even that. It was just she is the only one apparently who has any common sense.
Well, that kind of makes sense because you guys didn't read Secret Invasion.
No.
But the Queen of the Skrulls impersonated her for years. So there was Marvel heroes that hated her guts, and Spider-Man, Wolverine, and a few other Avengers were like the first ones to trust her after it all. So I can kind of see her like, well, you believed me when I came back from the Skrull, so she believes him. Like she's like, it makes sense that she would, out of all the Avengers, I can see that she would be the one that believe it because she's literally been in his shoes. That she had somebody else pretend to be her for a long time.
Makes sense. It would have been nice if they had pointed that out, though. Like, but whatever.
But that would have made too much sense.
Yeah, the Avengers scene was a big con in this issue, and
kidding.
I've said in the past that every scene with the Avengers and Superior sucked. It appears that I'm going to have to change that statement. Every scene with the Avengers in Dan Slott's entire run sucks. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. Miscellaneous bits of this issue. The beginning was Silk. It was fine, I guess. I'm not real. It got me intrigued with the Silk plot. That's really it. The dialogue in this issue for Spider-Man, I felt the dialogue was kind of poor up until the Electro fight. I liked what they did, like with Peter's actions and everything. I felt the dialogue was a smidge off. That was just a personal thing.
Yeah,
I liked how.
A little bit.
I liked how Peter reacted to the situation. I liked how Anna Maria reacted. I liked how Peter treated her and everything. It's just the dialogue was a bit off. That was a little bit of a con. Overall, I give this issue a B. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed the first issue, but it's not really anything special. It's a decent issue, and it's good to see a better quality Spider book than the last time, but any specific talking points that anyone wants to bring up?
Yes. We're probably going to get this answer either next, if not next issue, then in either 4 or 5. But what do you guys think is up with Silk's powers? Because she can shoot webs from her fingers. So, but didn't she got bit by the same spider that he did, right?
Yes, apparently, because
so
apparently in a split second, a spider can travel literally between the floors of a building and go across the floor and bite someone on the ankle, all in a split second.
I actually like that, though. That's cool. I think that, not the split second thing, but I just think that idea is kind of interesting.
Well, Spider-Man does have kind of a super speed, so maybe the radiation gives the spider a super speed. So that explains it.
I don't care.
Maybe the spider was Quicksilver.
And there's your Avengers movie reference.
No, that's the X-Men your past reference.
Well, if you think about it, when Stan Lee made the original powers, I mean, they evolved over the years with like the other and other storylines and shit like that. But
God, I hate the other.
The original Stan Lee storyline, the only spider power that he didn't give him that he had to make himself were the web shooters.
Yeah.
So the way I take it, Spider gave him everything else, but it gave her the webs because she's a woman, I guess.
Interesting idea.
It gave her the webs because she's a woman?
Now, do you think this whole thing with the spider would kind of sorry, go ahead.
Like maybe like biologically, a man gets different things from the bite than a woman would because it's physiology or how the DNA would work with the. I don't know. I don't know why she would get different powers than him. I'm just going along with trying to think of something.
You're just talking out of your ass.
Yeah.
Because I think it's obvious that she just got the powers he didn't, but it's like, well, that doesn't make no sense. Why would she get the powers he didn't if it's the same source?
Well, and another thing, John, you haven't read JMS's run, but James, I think you have, right?
Yeah.
So do you think this, with her getting bit, do you think that like almost immediately contradicts like everything that JMS said about the spider totem?
Well, JMS contradicted the spider totem because like in the final issue with Ezekiel, Spider-Man's talking to that priest about science and religion and whatever, and the guy's like, well, that's the good thing about life is you can take it any way you will. And even GMS said, if you notice, Peter not outright ever said, yeah, I believe you, because he's always been kind of, on the fence of, well, I got bit by a radioactive spider that got dosed with radiation. I mean, it might have been fate, but at the same time, you have no really concrete proof to me.
If they are saying that it was just science, I actually like that because I never cared for the spider totem thing. I think that's the one aspect of like the whole moral and story arc that I didn't care for.
Yeah, JMS pretty much near the end of that. His point was that it didn't matter. Kind of, it's like Peter got bit and Peter knows it, and the priest pretty much says science or religion, it doesn't matter. We are who we are, and Peter pretty much went along with it. And since then, because Peter doesn't really reference, I got bit by destiny by a spider god, and he says I got bit by a radioactive spider. Even in JMS's runs, he says that. I think it pretty much symbols that Peter went along with. No, it was the radioactivity.
And I think this kind of proves that it probably was the radioactivity. So,
any other talking points on Amazing Spider-Man number 2?
Not really.
James, you got any?
Just
well, actually, I might. Let me look up my notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and relook just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Just give me a second.
Oh, I have another pro. No Mary Jane scenes.
Yay!
Boo!
No Mary Jane scenes to piss me off.
Oh, I have one. This Parker Industries thing is really weird. This is like a strange idea for me because I didn't read Superior, so I'm like, what? He has his own company now? I mean, I knew it, but just like seeing it in like the issue was just really strange. I mean, I think it's promising, but.
And I've seen other podcasts and other websites bring it up. Does anybody else find it? Because everybody thought the second Peter was going to be put back in his real body, Peter was going to go to like the doctor in place and say, yeah, I don't deserve it, take it back. Because he didn't do it and Peter Parker's guilt. Is anybody surprised that Peter's just going along with the, yeah, I run a company and I'm a doctor now?
Not really.
I honestly think he's just kind of like, he's got more important things to think about right now because he did just kind of come back from a year of not even being in control in his own body.
Well, and if he uses that company to help other people, then I don't think it's anything wrong with it. You know, because it looks like he's going to use it to try to help save Electro. And maybe find a way to imprison supervillains. So I think if he's using it responsibly, then I don't think it's out of character. So
the one funny moment I had in this issue, Anna Maria comes into Peter's lab where he and Sajani are working, and she basically says, "I have to talk to Peter about something. It's a boyfriend-girlfriend thing." And Sajani's like, "This impacts our entire company." And Anna Maria just says, "I'm pregnant."
That was funny. Yeah,
I honestly believed her for a second.
Me too. I was like, "What?"
I thought that would be interesting because Marvel went through all this whole Peter can't ever have a kid because that'll make him too old unless it's like a Spider-Girl like continuity. So that'd make him too old. So I thought, okay, that would be an interesting plot twist if it's technically his kid, but it's technically was Otto's, in some weird way. But then it turns out, yeah, it's just line to get through.
I have a question. How old do you think Peter is supposed to be in the modern continuity?
I think they said it was 28.
Okay.
Because if you go by, he got bit when he was 15, and it was 13 years ago, it would be like 28.
He doesn't. I don't think he acts old enough to be 28. He acts too young.
Well, I know some 28-year-olds who act like they're 15. So
okay.
Well, in the Civil War issues, the Civil War and Back to Black, he and the first 3 issues of One More Day, he, by the way he's drawn and the way he's acting and everything, he seems early 30s, and then by the end of One More Day, he's like drawn younger again, and he's 25. So who knows? I mean, this is Marvel, where Spider-Man can age a year with Doc Ock going on with all this stuff.
Actually,
but Normie Osborn and Franklin Richards have been like 6 years old for decades.
Wait a minute. Don't they say in the beginning of Amazing Number 1 that it's been 13 years since he got bit by the spider?
Yeah.
So how old was he? I think, wasn't he supposed to be like 17 when he got bit, or...
Stan Lee, when you read those issues, you almost get a sense that he's a senior in 18.
Yeah, that's
because like issue 5, he tells Aunt May when he wants to go out to get the fuse box and the Doctor Doom stuff's going on. He goes, Aunt May, you can trust me. I'm 18 years old now. I'm a grown man. So, but it's been retconned that he was 15.
Oh, okay. So that would make him
28.
Okay, yeah, 28. So that was really stupid that I just did that because that had nothing in the conversation.
Any other final thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man number 2 before we wrap this up?
Really enjoying it so far. I'm glad Peter's back, and I think this new Electro thing, it looks really promising. I think Silk looks promising. I'm not sure how I feel about the whole Black Cat thing. We kind of discussed that earlier, but I'm not sure if that's out of character or not. But you know what? I'm glad Peter's back. So I'm just gonna not try to, I'm just gonna enjoy the fact that my favorite character is, alive and well, even though he's not actually real.
All right. Let's go around for final grades. We got a B out of Jan, I think.
Yep. Yeah, B.
B out of me, and I think James got a C.
A C.
Yeah, and that was mostly just for the Avengers. It would have been a B like you guys if they would have cut out the Avengers stuff.
If you just took the Avengers pages and like stapled them together, then it'd get an F. But
yeah,
that was good for me.
Avengers.
I used to like Iron Man and Captain America,
Oh,
and now I'm like, I
looks
can't
friggin' weird.
stand them now.
Iron Man looks friggin' weird. I didn't even recognize that was Iron Man. I was like, what the heck? That's Iron Man? I don't know if it was
the
Ringo
Marvel
Starr or
suits.
new armor. But
That's his Marvel. That's his new Marvel Now look.
yeah, I don't like it. I like the red and gold Iron Man.
Marvel Now, aka Marvel's half-assed attempt to capitalize on the New 52 by
Well, I like it
introducing.
more than New 52 because New 52 was like a lame reboot.
Well, yeah, but it, like pretty much Marvel said, okay, DC's way of approaching the reboot for Green Lantern and Batman is everything still happened. It's just their costume change. So that's
But
what we're going to do with everybody in our guys.
But it all happened in 5 years somehow. So like, there's 5 Robins in the span of 5 years.
Oh, now Batman's starting the retconning because pretty much the writers realized, yeah, we can't fit this old continuity in this. We have to change stuff.
All right. Moving on to the classic issue reviews. We got the start of the John Romita Sr. era of The Amazing Spider-Man. Yes, this is John Romita Sr.'s first issue, Amazing Spider-Man number 39, and Jan has requested to break down this issue, so I will let him take it away.
Okay, so it starts with the Green Goblin talking about how he's tired of getting beaten by Spider-Man and how he's like hatched a new plan to beat Spider-Man, and then we see Peter has kind of a cold, and he goes to Dr. Bromwell, who, by the way, does he appear at all beyond these issues?
James?
He might. I don't know for sure. Don't quote me with a yes or no. I'm just going to go with he
He's in
might.
so many of these old Silver Age issues, I can't remember if he appears beyond.
I honestly can't remember, but then again, I've read so many damn comic books.
Yeah, me too. I can't remember. Anyway, so Dr. Bromwell says, Peter, you're fine, but he's like, oh, you have the pulse of a superhero. Wink, wink, get it? Wink, wink. And Peter's like,
What if you could see me with my spider suit?
yeah. And then he says, well, Aunt May cannot survive. He says, I have some news about your Aunt May. She'll be okay, but she can't have any like sudden shocks. And I'm just going to go on a little side rant here. My one con of all these old issues is how horrible Aunt May is. I despise Aunt May up until the JMS era, because I just think it's like really like, I don't know. I just don't like Aunt May in these old issues, but whatever. So Peter feels guilty because he's like, it's my fault that she's having such a stressful life, and classic Peter Parker stuff. We see him walk by Flash and Gwen and some random guy who no one cares about. And we see a really good little bit between Norman and Harry. I wrote in my notes that I think Norman and Harry might be the best thing about both of these issues, in my opinion. I really like their relationship, and I think it's a really interesting parallel to the relationship between Peter and Aunt May, if that makes any sense. And then this is where what I joked earlier before we started recording is that like in the Romita era, every person that was mad at Peter in the Ditko era like comes and starts apologizing to him one by one. First it's Harry, and then it's Gwen, and then Flash. You see he's thinking that maybe Harry's not such a lame brain, and then later on it's Ned Leeds. So Peter, swinging through with Spider-Man, he fights some criminals who were hired by the Green Goblin to set him up and expose him to a gas that will numb his spider sense so the Goblin can figure out who he is. And one thing that made me laugh, and it's like a really funny like Stan Lee continuity error, is where one of the thugs is like, "Oh man, the Green Goon tricked us. He had something else up his sleeve." And then later Spider-Man's like, "I don't know who you guys are working for," and I'm like, "Dude, they just said the Green Goon. Who do you know that's green and wants to kill you?"
And then the other guy goes, "Yeah, the Goblin really tricked us here." Green Goon,
it's like hilarious.
Goblin.
Like,
who are these guys working for?
I think Peter might have the same ear infection that John has.
Except in both ears.
No, Peter. They're working for Doctor Doom. Green Goon is Doctor Doom. He
Doctor Doom is the Green Goblin. Yeah. So then Peter changes, and the Goblin sneaks up on him, and Peter has a flashback to that thing in ASM number 37 with the Robot Master, which another point that I brought up, I forgot how I haven't read these old Lee Ditko issues and Lee Romita issues in a long time. I forgot how tightly plotted the continuity is, how strongly each issue leads into the other. I think that's kind of cool for all the continuity errors that Stan has. I think he had he was good at running ongoing story arcs and stuff and giving you payoff and whatnot. So Ned apologizes to him. Funny Jameson scene. The Goblin shows up at Peter's house and they have a fight outside the house, and the Goblin is eventually able to incapacitate Spider-Man or Peter and ties him up with that rope, with the metal rope, and it flies him away, which is easily one of the most iconic Spider-Man images ever. Even though weirdly enough, that image is actually not in the issue itself; it's only on the cover. You see him dragging him away with the rope in the issue, but it's not as big a deal as it is in the cover. I think that's kind of funny. And then at the end, Norman takes him to his evil lair and says that he's the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin shows that he's Norman Osborn. I'm tired. I'm talking very well today, but yeah. So that's the issue.
Thoughts and grade, Jen?
It's really good. Forgot how well written the Stan Lee issues are. The artwork is beautiful by John Romita Sr. And and it's even more in the next one. But I really love how the relationship between Peter and Aunt May is a parallel, is darkly parallel than the relationship between Norman and Harry. I think that's really cool, and it kind of sets up how Norman is in some ways kind of like an evil version of Peter Parker. So I really like that, and I think it's a classic. So I give it an A, a solid A.
All right, James, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 39?
There was a certain other Spider-Man podcast that was from a few years back, which called this issue the Come On Get Happy issue, and that really fits when you read this, because everybody goes from last week with Ditko, last week this podcast, last month, yeah, but everybody goes from I hate you too, to me, Peter, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry too that I ignored you guys. I'm sorry, Ned, that me and you were both trying to screw the same woman. I know, Peter, women, ha ha ha. Yeah, and then Jonah is all classic Jonah, but Peter last off is, yeah, he yelled at me, but he's a jolly green giant, and he's making puns about at the doctor's office, and they're just going, oh, he looks really healthy. I wonder if she would say that if she would have saw me coming as Spider-Man. And it's like, oh, come on, Peter. And you got the Green Goblin in here, and it's really good. It's this is the first time that I think any supervillain has, besides obviously the Fantastic Four, who everybody knew who they were. This is the first time the secret identity was ever found out in comics, or at least made a big deal about it.
Yeah, I love that. And I hate how Brand New Day cheapened that by having Norman forget who Spider-Man is. I think that really sucks.
That was bullshit.
Yeah, it was. I'm like, so his arch nemesis doesn't know who he is? Doesn't that kind of take away a huge part of the Norman-Peter relationship?
And the way they tease that was such bullcrap, because the issue ends with Peter being held down by the Norman's evil group. It wasn't the Dark Avengers, but the Thunderbolts. He's being held down by the Thunderbolts, and then Norman's like, hello, Parker, I'm here to talk to you about Spider-Man. And Peter, it ends the issue with Peter with this big, oh my god moment, and you think, okay, at least Norman knows. Okay, that's good. Norman's going to torture him with it. And he's like, so you take photos of Spider-Man. And he's like, oh, I know.
Everything I was so mad when I read that.
I was like, no. And then Venom was the worst. Venom in that same goddamn issue is like, I know
everything about him. I don't know who he is, but
I know everything there is to know about Spider-Man. I don't know the fucker's name, but I know everything there is to know about him.
So he knows everything about Spider-Man, except for that one really big thing.
Yeah, except for, actually knowing him.
Okay. Other thoughts, James?
It's really good. I mean, there's not much I can say that nobody else has said about with this issue. I mean, you got the whole, Goblin follows him home, and you got the little 60s cornball. The Goblin screw us over. Yeah, that Green Goon. I wonder who they're working with. You got that kind of stuff, but it's comic. you can assume because Spider-Man's web swinging and he's shooting the webs, and it's really maybe he didn't hear that part.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
it's still goofy. I still make fun of it. It's funny.
Yeah. And then the Green Goblin moment is so classic. He stands before Peter Parker on the glider, and he's all like, "Okay, I'm here to get you, Spider-Man." And it's like, dun, dun, dun. You can almost hear that in your head.
I can almost hear the Hans... When that scene happened, I almost heard, like, in my head, the Hans Zimmer Goblin theme from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Probably you guys didn't, but it's cool. I did.
And then you got the reveal that it's Norman Osborn, and I kind of like the one moment, and a lot of people have brought this up before, and I know people are going to say I'm just bringing up what other people have, but it's a good part to bring up. I love it how when Harry's in the school and him and Peter finally bond and they get along, how they bond. My dad's an abusive asshole. My dad's dead.
Yeah.
It is. It's like, my dad's abusive. He's been mad at me ever since he had a failed science experiment. Peter goes, well, if you think that's bad, my father's dead. I'm an orphan. It's like,
Shit.
what? Are you guys fighting over who has a worse father? I mean, what?
I love the Osborn hair. Is that genetic or something? Like, that's just so funny.
All right. What's your grade, James?
I would give it an A.
Awesome. My thoughts and grade on this issue. This is part one of my favorite Spider-Man story of all time, and this is why I've been so eager to get to this issue, because...
I'm sorry, it's just the whole thought that the start of one of the most iconic best friendships in comic history, Peter and Harry, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and the Raimi trilogy, everybody knows Peter and Harry BFFs, and how does their friendship start? My dad's abusive, well, my dad's dead.
Okay. But I absolutely love this issue. First off, John Romita Sr., new artist on this issue. I love his style. Yes, it is a more romantic style, I've heard people describe it as. I don't mind it. I really, really do like it, and I think it looks very, very good. A lot of people say, oh, Peter Parker's too handsome. Well, wasn't he established in the Ditko era to be a relatively attractive guy?
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's a good-looking guy.
I mean, Liz Allen and Betty Brant and even Mary Jane, even though they never really met, were fighting over him. I think that kind of says that he at least had some good looks.
So, yeah, I don't really understand that complaint, and personally, I don't think it's that bad. The Peter Harry scene, I will never read the same again now that I've heard that. I love the scene between Norman and Harry. The scene with Spider-Man and the thugs on the roof, yeah, it's cheesy, it's 60s writing, but you know what? It was decent action. I didn't mind it. The Goblin finally learning who Spider-Man is, I absolutely love the way it was done, and I think it couldn't have been done any better. I found it really, really strange that the Goblin has this shotgun mic that can hear anything.
And where did it fit in his purse? Half the damn stuff he puts in for these two issues wouldn't fit in that bag.
Next issue. When we talk about next issue, I have something to say about that.
Yeah, that was weird, but I didn't hate it. The action sequence between the Goblin and Peter outside of Peter's house is fairly good. It's probably one of the best action sequences in Amazing Spider-Man up to this point. And then finally the reveal of Norman Osborn as the Goblin. What can we say? Retroactively, we can't really judge it based on, what's come before it, because we're looking at this retroactively. So ultimately, I think it was done well, and it was fine enough for me. So any final thoughts, anybody, on Amazing Spider-Man number 39?
I'll just go real quickly, because I forgot to bring up the Romita art. It's
amazing.
Beautiful. Like, I love Ditko. Ditko had one of the best artwork of all time in Spider-Man. If it wasn't for Ditko, there would be no Spider-Man. But there would probably be no Spider-Man as the way he is today if it wasn't for Romita.
Yeah, I agree. I actually, even though I have a huge, huge amount of respect for Steve Ditko, I'm not the biggest fan of his art. I think it's fine, but I don't know. It just doesn't. It's a taste thing. It's not bad. It's just not really for me, if that makes any sense. But I think Romita is just like, his art is great. And I think Romita is easily one of the most influential artists on Spider-Man, I think.
He is. I mean, until McFarlane came in the 80s, practically every artist who worked on Spider-Man, whether it be Amazing, Spectacular, Web-Up, they were all trying their best to be Romita, except for Ron Friends. If you look at Ron Friends' early Amazing stuff, it looks like almost like a Ditko, copy-paste, but not making fun of his art, but it had a more kind of Ditko influence. But everybody else was pretty much Romita.
Oh, can I mention a few things really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think it was cool that when Jameson mentioned the globe, the globe, I mean, that's kind of cool, like, that, that ended up playing a reasonably big part in Spider-Man later on when Peter started working there. And also that, Eddie Brock was working at the Globe. So I think that's kind of cool that I didn't realize that went so far back. And I also thought that the running gag of him having the cold was pretty funny when he keeps, like, mispronouncing words.
Yeah.
That was funny.
All right. Amazing Spider-Man number 40. I'm going to break this one down because this is, honestly... This is my favorite Spider-Man issue I've ever read. This to me is my personal favorite issue of Spider-Man ever. I mean, I haven't read every single issue of Spider-Man, but from the ones I've read thus far, this is my favorite. I absolutely love this issue. Basic breakdown, we get the Green Goblin's origin. We basically see, how he became the Green Goblin, why he became the Green Goblin. And the rest of it is basically just a big fight between the Green Goblin and Spider-Man. And now I know there's not a lot of, normally I wouldn't be so enthused about this kind of issue. But honestly, the story and the action is so well melded together and so well done that I absolutely love this issue. I honestly can't think of a better issue than this one. Honestly, my pros for this issue... The origin of the Green Goblin was awesome. I absolutely loved it. You could see really how messed up in the head Norman really is. I mean, it comes off that he does love his son, but honestly, this guy has no fucking clue what he's doing when he comes to being a parent, and he has no freaking way, to know. He has no way of knowing that his priorities are completely skewed, and that, to me, I found interesting. The Goblin formula, yeah, it's a cliche supervillain origin, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. And then, of course, the moment they interact, Norman and Harry interact after Norman is hit by the Goblin formula, you get that classic Ditko relationship with them. So that was awesome. The flashbacks to all the previous encounters with the Green Goblin and Spider-Man was pretty cool. I liked that quite a bit. And then the final action sequence between them was, honestly, I think, one of the best action sequences throughout all of Spider history, if not the best action sequence in Spider history. It is awesome. The art, the dialogue, what happens in it, everything is just so damn good, and I absolutely love it. If I have to give this issue a grade, I give it an A+. And I realized while I was doing my breakdown of this issue that I forgot to grade the last issue. 39 and 40 both get A+ from me. I absolutely love both issues, and I could not have been more pleased with this issue when I read it. Another pro is I liked how Spider-Man didn't initially trust Norman's amnesia, and ultimately his spider sense not tingling was what tipped him off that it was real. Yeah. I liked that because that was clever. I liked that Stan was able to see through that. Ultimately, I really, really like this issue. It's my favorite issue of all time. A+ out of me. James, why don't you go thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 40?
It's a classic. I wouldn't say it's my favorite issue. Yeah. It might be, but there's just so many issues of Spider-Man I love. It's hard to pick what's my absolute number one favorite. Like, even if I had to do a top 5 list, it would change at a dime, thinking, about this issue and that issue. But it is a classic, iconic issue. I love it how the title is basically a spoiler. Like, Stan's thinking, the kids for a whole month, Spider-Man's secret is known, and he might die, and the Green Goblin, they might be too scared. So I'll make sure that the cover and the issue's title says, Spider-Man wins, Green Goblin dies. But he doesn't really die, but it's like, Green Goblin featuring Spider-Man saving everything. And the art is great. I mean, those first 3 panels where you get the extreme close-up on Norman where it keeps on getting closer to him, I mean, that is just great. Like, I got the essentials, and it's in black and white, and it's breathtaking. I can just imagine what it looks like in color. And I love it how Norman keeps on talking about, I'm a good businessman, and I'm a good father. And then you see in the flashbacks, he's not.
Yeah.
He's
really cool.
It's not like it was retcon years later that Norman was a bad guy, where originally he was a nice guy, turned bad by the Goblin formula. You see by the way he treats Harry and Schramm and people. No, Norman's always been a rotten bastard. It's just the Goblin powers made him a killer.
Yeah.
All right. Other thoughts, James?
And it's like you get the origin, the whole kind of thing they got where he, is using this mind reading machine or whatever it is to see memories is like 60s comic book at its cheesiest and what the fuck.
I know. I have a joke about that.
It's just a very good issue. I love it, the flashbacks and how you get a sense that, okay, this guy is the Green Goblin. There's no fake. He's not pretending. Because he's remembering events and he's explaining them from the Goblin's point of view, like issue 14 and stuff like that.
All right. What's your grade, James?
An A.
All right. Jan, thoughts and grade?
Okay. This was... I have like considerably less notes about this one because a lot of this, I kind of think of these as like one big issue more than like just two. So a lot of my thoughts that I had in the previous one carry over. I think opposite of Jonathan, my least favorite part is the final battle. Not to say that you're wrong; it's just my opinion. But my least favorite parts of these old 60s issues is often the fights. I just find them kind of like they take long to read, and they're not like they don't really grab me. If it makes any sense. But I think it's a great issue. It really is, and I think my favorite part is really, as you said, Norman flashing back to his relationship with Harry, and I think that is when I said how Norman is like an evil Peter Parker in some way. That's kind of what I was meaning is that we see how Peter Parker, his whole thing is that he like takes responsibility for his actions, right? And Norman is the exact opposite. He like refuses to take any responsibility for how crappy of a father he's been or how he's basically ruined his life. He just blames it on Spider-Man or anybody else, but he has like created a fantasy world because he does not want to accept responsibility for his actions. And I think that is a really cool parallel between the two characters. And I also like how at the end you see Peter, comforting, or I guess it's Aunt May comforting Peter, and you see Harry comforting Norman, and it's like the panel is almost the exact same, but like one is reversed. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I thought that was kind of like a cool like visual symbolism of how they're like two sides of the same coin. So that stuff is great. I think the ending is hysterical when it's like, Norman's like, oh man, this is going to be, so I don't know how, but I just have a gut feeling in my gut that the future is going to be great for the both of us. And I'm like, yep, Norman Osborn never became the Green Goblin ever again.
I just imagine at the end of the panel, he's like, now Harry, we can go back to normal. Yeah, Dad, I love you, Dad. Shut up.
Yeah. But so that made me laugh. That mind reading thing is like really funny. Like it's like Peter's like, why are you doing this mind reading thing, Norman? And Norman's like, because the readers who might not have read the previous issues are going to want to get caught up on our rivalry. I mean, because I want to show you that I never died. Or not that I never died, that I never got defeated. As I said before, I'm really tired right now. I can't talk.
Can I bring up one thing that I just remembered?
Yeah.
I love it how when he's bringing out Norman, you got the classic thing of the firefighters are like, thank you, Spider-Man. Oh, you're bringing out this guy. You're a hero. And the cops are like, hero my foot. He's the one who did this. He's just covering it up.
Hero my foot.
They do. They say hero my foot. We caught him in the act. He's just trying to save his own ass, pretty much.
I'm looking at this panel right now. I have to read this.
It's like when he's carrying out Norman.
He does. Yeah, and then Peter's like, "Hey, Big John, Mike." I'm just kidding. Yeah.
All right.
Movie reference. But no, I'm taking really long. I'm sorry, but no, I really like this issue. It's great, and I give it I probably give it an A+. No, I give it like a really high A, like a 98%, like really high A. It's great.
All right. Moving on to Amazing Spider-Man number 41. This is the introduction of the Rhino, and it's beginning a great new era in the ever-changing life of the world's most amazing web spinner. James, I think we're going to have you break down this issue. What are your basic breakdown, thoughts, grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 41?
Here we go, guys. The first appearance of Rhino. Well, it begins with Spider-Man on top of a building, swinging by Oscorp as he realized a Russian mobster driving a... wrong Rhino origin. No. It begins with Peter buying a new motorcycle. Yay! We got reintroduced into John Jameson, who's returning from NASA since issue 1.
Right, Peter. I don't trust those things.
Yeah. We got the return of John Jameson after not being seen from since issue 1 or even mentioned by Jonah that he had a son. Yay! We have the Rhino. Yeah, okay, whatever. and Rhino's causing trouble. Gwen notices Peter's ride and wants to know if he can rev her Harley. Batman reference.
James, there are little kids watching this.
It's a Batman reference. It's from one of the cartoons.
I'm being funny.
Harley says that the Joker want to rev my Harley, and he pushes her. It's in one of the cartoons.
Oh yeah, the Harley episode. Yeah, right.
Nerdy pickup line. Nerdy pickup line. I have one. Hey baby, why don't you come back to my place and I'll show you the exponential growth of my natural log. Damn it!
It could be worse. Gene Simmons of Kiss one time wrote a lyric, "I'm gonna stick my log in your fireplace." So it can get worse. Trust me.
You guys are just let's just get off this.
And then, yeah, Gwen wants, she pretty much, I don't know, she has a thing for bikers, I guess, because that makes her fall even more in love with Peter. And the issue ends with Aunt May reminding him that soon he's going to have a date with Anna Watson's niece, Mary Jane. So he shouldn't miss dinner. But as we all know, this Mary Jane person was just a one-time character who in no way would have became popular.
I know. I think she only had one panel, I think.
Yeah, she got cut out most of the movie because... never mind. Wrong.
Oh, sorry, wrong franchise.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, James?
It's for a Rhino origin. It's not really origin, but it's okay. It's the first issue. I mean, it's Rhino. He never really interests me as a character. Even in the movie, obviously, he didn't really interest me. He's only in the beginning and the end. But Rhino has never been that interesting of a villain for me.
Let's talk about Rhino because he's like probably the major talking point of this issue.
Yeah, it's just he doesn't really do much for me. Peter gets a motorcycle that became a mainstay of pretty much the Romita era. That he rode He rode a motorcycle, and you got typical Jonah. You got typical
huge place in continuity. One day the Venom symbiote will. Oh, never mind. Sorry, wrong continuity.
You got John Jameson, and he's returning from NASA, which, as we all know, brought this. Oh wait, again, another wrong continuity.
Oh my gosh, this is getting old.
I'm sorry, Jonathan.
Damn it. My ear's throbbing. I don't know if it's from the bad jokes or the ear infection.
Both.
If I had to give this issue, I'll give it a solid C. It's a real downer because it's the issue after two iconic issues, but that's how comics work.
All right. Jan, thoughts on Amazing 41?
Yeah, I would. It's kind of a letdown. This was actually the first, classic, not classic Spider-Man issue. This is the first, this is the first masterwork I ever got. So this issue will always kind of have like a special place for me. It's not great. I don't know. The really only major thing is the Rhino is introduced, and he's never been really that interesting of a character until the B&D. Everything they did with him and B&D is cool. Speaking of Rhino's origin, there was a really funny Web of Spider-Man issue that was like an untold tale of his origin, and it was really funny. Like how I won't go into it now, but the Rhino's never. I agree with James. He's never really been a character that you bring in because he's super interesting. You bring in the Rhino because he's there to get beat up, and humiliated in the beginning of the story before the real story starts. So he's kind of always been around, but he's not a really interesting character. And I think it's funny how how it talks about how he's it says Rhino, the most fearsome villain of all, and it's yeah, no, he's not. He's really not. And I think it's funny how much the threat level from the last issue to this issue diminishes. The Green Goblin. Oh, it's the Rhino. Oh, well, I guess I can dodge him while he runs at me again.
All right, what's your grade, Jan?
Probably a B. No, B minus. B minus.
Okay, I'm not really sure what issue you guys read because I gave it an A. I read this issue today, and I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as the last 2 issues, but I really enjoyed it. My favorite scene, without a doubt, was the awkward scene between Peter and Betty. That I found to be completely hilarious. He's just like, yeah, read any good books lately?
You read any good books lately?
He actually thinks to himself, am I going to have to ask her that? Because that's how badly this conversation is going.
Books on his mind. Oh, much poetry because then. Oh, no, wrong continuity.
I read this last night, and that slipped my mind that was even in the comic that he had to finally sit down with Betty. That this was her come on get happy moment with Peter.
Okay, but yeah, I really like that Peter is really getting over Betty Brant, because anyone who follows this podcast knows that I do not like that character.
I don't like Betty Brant either.
The Rhino.
Do you Bertoni hate her? Or?
About. Wait, what was that?
Whatever. The Rhino here I think is a good villain. Yeah, there's not much to him, but I thought he was a good threat. The J. Jonah Jameson and John Jameson scenes were fairly good, and I liked them a lot. And the awesome action sequences made this issue an A-worthy issue for me. I really like this issue. I guess you guys don't agree with me, but I really like this issue.
If I can bring up the one thing with the Betty, yeah, I agree. I like how they do get along now. They're not hating each other. Betty, in fact, she even went right back to Jonah and vouched for him when Jonah fired him, reminding him that he has to take photos of the John Jameson thing. The returning ass. Oh wait, wrong continuity again.
Okay, seriously, the next person who does that, I'm kicking from the Skype call.
Repeat the wrong continuity joke again, James. I forgot it. I wasn't listening. What'd you say?
Oh, it was a joke about Spider-Man 2, how Jonah fires Peter, and she comes in reminding him how he needs him to take the photos of the returning home party for John Jameson.
Well, speaking of Betty, have you guys seen the Amazing Spider-Man Classics podcast where they do like the commentary for Spider-Man 1, and Bertoni's like when like Peter doesn't go out with Betty, Bertoni was like, "Oh, you have no idea how much you just saved yourself," or something like that. That was funny.
I haven't listened to that, but any final thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man number 41?
It's not. I mean, I don't think any issue from this era is below a B-. I think the farther you go back in Spider-Man history, the better the quality is. Ironically enough, and this is like right in the this, and I think up to this to like from here up to like the 90s, I think there's very little to complain about for me.
All right,
so, good.
Amazing Spider-Man issue 42, The Birth of a Superhero. Yeah, this issue, it's a pretty forgettable issue, actually. We really don't have anything big that goes on in here, especially not in the last panel. But yeah, if anyone doesn't know that I was just joking there, you are an idiot.
I didn't.
But Amazing Spider-Man number 42 now I'm going to break the fourth wall here. Did someone say that they hadn't read this issue?
Me.
Okay, so you can't do the breakdown.
But I could probably do a really crappy one if you wanted me to.
No, it's okay. I couldn't remember. I thought someone mentioned that they didn't have time to reread this.
Yeah.
Basic breakdown of this issue. Spider-Man seemingly robs a bank, though we find out later that he was actually saving it because the money bag that he supposedly stole was actually a bomb, so he basically saved the bank. And John Jameson is seeing basic enhancements, I guess, from the spores that he acquired on his spacewalk, so they've turned him into pretty much a walking superhero. So J. Jonah Jameson suggests that he go after Spider-Man for robbing that bank. So they fight. Spider-Man defeats him. John's pissed, so they fight again, and Spider-Man defeats him with electricity or whatever. He causes him to overload or something. And that's the end of the issue. Really, there's nothing else that happens. Oh wait, yeah, there is something. There's this redhead chick.
Oh no, never mind.
Yeah, there's this redhead chick. She comes into this issue, is never mentioned again. Yeah, I don't know what her name is, but she says, "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot." Yeah, that's a pretty forgettable line of dialogue, I think. But thoughts?
Who's gonna reference that later? No one. That's who.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of franchise is gonna shove that down our throats. But I think, in terms of pros and cons for this issue, I think someone is actually going to suggest that I get off the podcast because I also give this issue an A.
Get off of here, dude.
I do not. Maybe it's the ear infection is making me more positive, but
that makes no sense.
I'm just like I'm in low health. I appreciate things in life now.
Jonathan, do you live in the same universe where getting struck by lightning gives you superpowers?
No, I live in the same universe where lizard DNA turns you into giant lizards.
Oh, gotcha. Good deal. We're on the same page now. I'm picking up what you're putting down, sir.
All right. I thought the quote-unquote bank heist plot was very good. I liked the little twist of that. I felt that, I didn't mention this in the breakdown, but this is kind of part 2 of the Rhino arc. He's in very little of the issue, but he is there, and I did like that.
He just wakes up and they gas him, and he falls asleep again. It's like, what was the point of that?
He really is just kind of being shown as a threat, which I find kind of cool. The John Jameson storyline, I first was introduced to this storyline by the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, so I kind of knew how this went down, but ultimately this was done well enough. The art in this issue is absolutely fantastic, of course. I mean, I'm going to say this right now. I think the combination of Stan Lee and John Romita Sr. is probably my favorite creative team of all time, really only challenged by 2 others, Stern and John Romita Jr., and then Michelini and Bagley. Those 2 teams are absolutely great as well. But I really like this issue, and then, of course, you get the classic panel at the end of it, the introduction of Mary Jane, and, of course, I will never get over Peter's reaction. That's Mary Jane? He says that out loud, and it's just like, if I were Mary Jane, I would be like, should I be offended by that, or should I take that as a compliment? I'm not.
Well, it is a blind date, so I think she went along with it. You know, okay, he never saw me before. So he's like, wow, that's Mary Jane?
Yeah, but I love the introduction to Mary Jane. Classic moment. Absolutely fantastic. I give this issue an A. I actually really liked it. So, I guess I'm just, cocaine's a hell of a drug, so it makes you happy.
Jeez. Stop doing drugs, son.
I was kidding.
I mean, this is a Mary Jane issue. MJ.
I didn't even intend for that pun, but whatever. Yes, James, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 42?
I give it an A2, and that's just for the last panel, because that's just like the most iconic panel. As a Mary Jane fan, that's the most iconic panel that you can come up with in Spider-Man to a lot of people, so that gets this issue an A. But if that wasn't in there, this issue would be a C. And the reason, so I guess you would say my grade would be like a B in between the average.
Yeah,
but,
B average.
And it's just like John Jameson as a villain, it was weird. And I mean, thank God he never became a villain again. Man-Wolf!
Handled that
and it's just boring. It's not much to go with. I mean, you got finally the that was the issue before. I mean, this issue's just boring. There's not much to talk about. John Jameson becomes evil because he thinks Spider-Man robbed the bank, and
Venom.
Mary Jane.
Never mind. Sorry.
It's just, there's not much for me to say about that issue. Like, I read it, but it's almost like I didn't read it because it's all like I can't have nothing to say except for that last panel.
I don't know what's going on with me this week. I'm just giving out A's.
But I wish you were my teacher.
You're Oprah Winfrey. You get an A. You get an A. Look underneath your chair. Everybody gets an A.
So, God, this is the one where John Jameson is fooled by Venom. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
I'm going to kick you from this conversation.
Don't hurt me.
I'm going to punch you.
Yeah, this is just a really great issue.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
It's really great just for like one panel. I know that's very, very bad to say, but the only reason why I would go reread this issue is just for that last page.
All right. Jen, I know you didn't reread this issue.
Basic Tiger.
No, but I was through it when you guys were talking about
it. In fact, I realized what that line's about now. Stan was breaking the fourth wall. Mary Jane wasn't saying that to Peter. He was saying that he was having Mary Jane say that to the audience, because after reading the rest of the issue, finally they hit the goddamn jackpot after failing the first 100 times.
Okay. Jan, thoughts?
Well, I think it's a decent one. I think that the Spectacular cartoon handled this storyline a little bit better. I think in the cartoon, if I remember correctly, I think he went crazy right at the end. Like here, I think he's pretty much cured, and he doesn't. I mean, he becomes a villain later because of Man-Wolf, but that's like not even related to this at all, really. So I think it's interesting that here, it's a happy ending, and in the cartoon, it was actually kind of a really sad episode because he was crazy and like in an insane asylum at the end. So I think that I like the cartoon version a little better, but it was kind of a cool idea. The whole bank bomb thing is really clever, and I think that it's really interesting that we're reviewing these issues because I mean this is a really like influential and iconic batch of issues, isn't it? Like you have the revelation that Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin. You have the image where he's grabbing Peter, and pulling him through the air. That's like been in so much stuff. And then in this one, you have the Basic Tiger. You just hit the jackpot. And the last one, we had the Rhino. Like, I mean, I think it's crazy how as soon as Romita got on, it was like, bang, bang, bang. It was like all iconic stuff. So I think that's really kind of interesting. But no, I'd probably give it a C.
Romita was sick of the bullshit.
What?
Romita was sick of the bullshit. He's just like, just get to the effing story.
He watched Smallville, and then he's like, we're not going to be like Smallville. He watched Smallville back in 1960s, and he's like...
All right, what's your grade?
Probably a C. No, never mind. I don't know. I haven't read it recently, so I can't grade.
All right. Amazing Spider-Man issue 43. James has this one because he says, yeah, I called doing 43, so James, why don't you take this issue?
Well, you guys called the Green Goblin stuff before I could, so this is like the next iconic issue I could call.
Sorry, James.
And this one is the first full appearance of Mary Jane, not just the last panel thing, but here's the first full appearance. And it's a really great issue. I'll just give like a little quick synopsis. Pretty much, Peter and Mary Jane are having their date. She's all like, "Can you pass the salt, son?" and talking all jive and cool and hippie-ish. And she is all, look at the panel. She's all like, you can see her at a jazz club clapping her fingers and snapping her fingers like a poem. Like, that's what she looks like and is talking like. Like, yeah, that's cool, man.
Would you mind passing the butter, Peter? No, not at all. Then why don't you pass it, dear? Pass what?
I think Mary Jane is stoned throughout the whole thing. She's like, she refers to the world as this big, blind, bouncy world. I'm like, who talks like that?
Well, there's a reason why her name is Mary Jane.
Stanley's like, how do teenage girls talk these days? Well,
all right.
Well, it's funny too because when you think about it, because the issues before this, he's all like, I don't want to see this girl. My aunt probably set me up with like a woman like her that's ugly or something like that. Peter does not want to go nowhere near Mary Jane. He's all focusing on Gwen, and here it's like, Gwen who?
Yeah.
So all the people who are all Team Gwen and stuff like that take that, I guess. I don't know. And it's you got them eating. They watch TV because Mary Jane wants to find a song for them to dance with because it's red and cool, man. And Peter sees a news report that the Rhino has escaped and he's attacking the city. Spider-Man first doesn't know if he should go, but Mary Jane, and if you go by retcons a year later, she knows, pretty much just hinting, let's get our asses there. Let's go see the cool, bad guy who's destroying the city. Yeah. And Peter
knew the whole time.
Yeah. I know the retcon, it makes sense here, though, because it's almost like Mary Jane knows he wants to go and beat Spider-Man, so she's giving him the way out.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably one of the more thought-out retcons of Spider history.
That was DeFalco that did that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's an untold tale about it, but that's all I know.
Yeah. And then Peter still is on the fence because he's on a date with a cute girl. He doesn't know where we should go. But then he sees a little kid dressed up in a Spider-Man suit while the cops are staring down right on. Wait, wrong continuity.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, come on. This scene is like almost right out of the movie. All you need is the kid.
James, you can't see right now, but I'm fist bumping my computer.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh, I
Here,
hate both of you.
Webcam. I think you go webcam. Here, I'll just show you my fist real quickly.
Oh my
Boom.
gosh. I hate both of you.
James, John, it is our life. It is our life. It is our purpose in life to make your life a living hell.
You both are a bunch of dicks.
Hey, it could be worse. Thomas could be here too, and he could be adding the insults. At least it's just two of us.
If Thomas was here, we'd be insulting him.
No,
That's true. That's true. Thomas was pretty much the first words that came out of my mouth to Thomas was something that literally John's answer was, "Dang, owned by the new guy."
All right.
But anyways, back to my, talking about this issue. They go. He runs off, beats Spider-Man, fights Rhino. Rhino loses. Peter comes back. Mary Jane asks where he was. Peter says, it's taking photos, this and that. She's like, cool, whatever, that's awesome. And it's really because retcons, that because she knows he's Spider-Man, so she already knew the truth. And they go back home. He drops her off. He's all excited about her. He bumps into Flash and Harry and Gwen, and they're all like, Flash is in the military now. He got drafted, and we're going to go out and celebrate that he's going to be in Nam and everything, because that's what people did when they in Vietnam. They didn't, draft dodge or anything. They were celebrating about going into the war. But not trying to get all political, but just making a joke there. And pretty much Flash is all excited, and I know another podcast already stole this joke, but I gotta say it. Yeah, I'm going to war, and I hope I don't lose my legs. They're gonna sign me up for a Venom project. And it's just like, and then they bring up an actual weird historical fact that I didn't even realize, but I guess it is true that Peter wouldn't be drafted, and Marvel didn't really have to worry about it, because I guess if you're an A student in college, they didn't draft you, because that's what Gwen says.
I didn't know that.
But I guess, yeah, they actually do that. If you're an only child and or you're getting good grades in school, they won't draft you.
Dude, I'm not going to have to go to the military then. I fit both of those criteria.
Like, I believe Bertoni on their podcast, so all the hippies had to do was get good grades.
And kill their brother and sister, and they'll be fine.
Basically,
Sorry.
Peter is all sad. Peter's sad because he can't go hang out with them because it's, Peter Parker. Why me, Parker?
Never mind. I'm not even going to make... John, I'm not going to even... I was going to make a wrong continuity joke. I was going to say Peter's sad because Gwen just died, but I'm like, nah, I'm done.
He's not going to hang out with them for reasons. I forgot what the exact reason he gives, but it's like he doesn't hang out with them, and then he goes home to call Mary Jane for the date, but then he realizes he can't go out with her, and then she's all like, doesn't really care. She's all like, wow, man, that's so cool, son. I'll keep a step up her lip until you call again. Catch me, you dig? And then he's all like, oh, even Mary Jane doesn't care about me. Why me? My life sucks. How can this get any worse? That villain you haven't seen since issue 6, the Lizard, is back, and he's going to climb up Oscorp and... Oh, wait, wrong continuity. Did we break John? Where is he?
He passed out because of his ear infection.
I was waiting for you, dude. I set you up.
I was just done. I was just like, done. I'm not doing this anymore. What's your grade, James?
A B.
All right. My grade on this issue, yeah, it's actually not going to be an A. I give this one a B.
What?
Yes, this is the first classic issue today that I've given less than an A to. But I know this was the 60s, and I know Stan Lee probably had no idea how teenage girls talk, but every time they put words in Mary Jane's mouth, it was awful.
Well, her name is Mary Jane, so.
It was atrocious. I'm sorry. That was a con. But decent...
You don't dig, man? You're not cool, cat.
But you don't get this blind, big, bouncy world like we do.
Yeah, us straight folk, you dig? That's literally lines that she has said in the Ramita era, guys. We're actually quoting those stuff.
I know.
Yeah, but the decent action sequences and the inclusion of Dr. Connors actually made this issue better for me. The ending, it's a typical Spider-Man ending, so it wasn't really anything special to me. I give this issue a B. I thought it was pretty good, but it's not nearly as good as the last 4 issues. Did we hit Jan up for thoughts and grade yet? I don't remember.
No, he haven't hit me up yet. that sounded really weird that I said that. I don't know why. Whatever. Moving on. It's the one really big thing that bothers me, and it's really stupid because like this is the universe where getting struck by lightning gives you superpowers. But like, how does, and this is probably something we should tackle later in the 2-part lizard story that's coming up. I don't know if is it next?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so
well, annual number 3 is next. But
yeah, how, like, it's really funny to me that like, so Dr. Connors works on the acid that burns off the rhino's hide or whatever, right? So how is the ingredients from an acid in a serum that has lizard DNA in it even remotely similar? Because then, like, he's like, oh man, that serum that I made to dissolve the rhino's armor, must be turning me into the lizard again. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what? How? That's like just.
The thing I'm going with is it might have been a psychological thing that because it's Spider-Man and fighting a monster that's going to kill him, that it made him remember, about being the lizard, and it was setting him off. That it was repressed memories kind of deal.
Yeah, that sounds like a good explanation.
But I do like how he goes, you might need some help. Should I turn into the lizard? And Spider-Man's like, no, don't turn into the lizard. And at the end of the issue, he's like, how can my life get worse? Next issue, the lizard. Oh, son of a bitch, Connors.
Well, there's a really cool part in the. Never mind. That was going off topic. But so I'd probably give this one a B-ish. B minus. It's the Mary Jane stuff is hilarious. Like, I mean, I can make fun of that all day. That's just so funny how like out of touch Stanley was with how teenagers talked. I don't know. There's something really cheesy and funny about that. So I'm not sure if that's a pro or a con. Cause I'm almost tempted to make that a pro because that's just so entertaining.
It's so bad it's good.
Yeah, it is. This is, as I said before, I've not read a classic Spider-Man issue that I haven't at least found something to enjoy. So probably a B minus.
Okay, that's going to wrap up the classic issue reviews for the day, and that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode of the podcast.
Hey, don't we got to read Jan's questions?
Oh, yeah, let's do listener questions. Our first one is from All Things Super. I wonder who that could be.
I heard that guy's a dick.
He's a really handsome guy. I've met him.
I heard he was a dick.
Hey, don't make fun of my friend.
All right. Yeah, we're not doing listener questions.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought we were for a second.
No,
You're going to answer your own questions, dude.
Can we, though? Like, seriously, that'd be funny if I answered my own question.
Honestly, we could do it next week, but I'm not doing it this week.
We'll videotape me talking to myself in a mirror like Willem Dafoe.
All right. James, any final words for the listeners before we sign off?
You guys are awesome.
James, not you.
I'm sorry.
Any listener questions? I mean, not listener questions. I'm sorry. just giving you a hard time, dude. Yeah, my final words are just to tune in to AGR. Go me. I got into college, so that's pretty nice. Nice to have Jan here. He seems like a pretty awesome guy. Welcome to the cast.
I am a pretty awesome guy. Thank you.
And see you guys all next week when we tackle some more Spider-Man issues.
All right.
Like that one where Dr. Octopus ends up killing himself to save the world from a little mini. Oh, wait, the wrong continuity.
Though we should legitimately think about doing commentaries.
We should. I think we've actually talked about that before. But Jan, any final words for the listeners before we sign off?
It is a pleasure and an honor to be here. And I'm really had a lot of fun. And I hope I probably will be because I have no life. So it'll be fun to, hopefully do this every week. I'm really excited. And thanks for listening if you are listening.
Awesome. My final words for the listeners are basically what I say every week. Keep checking out the site, theamazingspiderman.com, dashes in between every word. Man, that gets redundant to say every week. Go read some of the Lee Romita Sr. era issues. Those are damn good. And yeah, just keep reading Spider-Man.
Read Untold Tales, because it doesn't get enough love.
Yeah, Jan has been gushing to me about Untold Tales, and he's like, yeah. But other than that, this is Amazing Spider-Man Podcast, signing off.